We'll show you where you're great at. We'll show you the lanes where like you have an edge, and we'll show you where you have opportunity to get better. Right? We'll help your pricing team save time and think more strategically. You can be strategic around where you want to take bets, around where you want to be conservative.
Hey, I'm Oscar. This is Tech for Supply Chains, and this is your front row seat to the people, ideas, and technologies that are making the world move. So if you're enjoying this series, please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for being here. All right, everyone. Welcome to Tech for Supply Chains. When I think about pricing and rate management and logistics, I think about how a few dollars mean being able to cover a load and make money or lose business. And for shippers, an accurate target rate can mean the difference between hitting their spend goal or overpaying for freight, which hits their P&L directly. So our guest today is Jonathan Salama. He's co-founder and CEO of Transfix, a company helping shippers and brokers unlock better rates with their data. So Jonathan, thanks for joining us. So let's get to know you. Why don't you tell us a bit about you and a bit of a background? You started as a software engineer at Microsoft, building features for Microsoft Office. How did you end up going from writing code to leading one of the first big digital brokerages and then the transition to software as a service?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a long journey to get here. But I'm actually from France. I moved to the US for college. I went to University of Miami as a computer engineer, and I never saw myself in logistics, at least not at the beginning. But it feels like it's pretty common to not start in logistics and end up here. So I like you said, I started at Microsoft. I was there for a very short period of time. Microsoft's great, nothing's wrong with it. I just wanted a much smaller company. I wanted like coworkers that were like just out of school and doing what I do. So I moved to a company called Gilt in New York very early in my career. I stayed there for about 4 years as a software engineer. Built a lot of the internal software that the Gilt employees were using, and I found a passion for like getting efficiency in a company using technology. So that was fun. I actually met my wife there, and that Gilt created some like really great memories. But eventually I left to join another startup, and this one didn't quite work as well. We sold within the first year of me joining, and I thought, you know what, I want to try my own thing. I want to try my own startup. I try to find people, find different connections. I wanted to be CTO. I back then I was passionate about building technology and coding myself. I still can't stop coding, even though my team wants me to. And so like I met Drew, my co-founder, who told me all about logistics. And back then he thought like, oh, let's start Uber for trucking, which I thought was a cool idea, and we just did it. We launched in August of 2013, and then it all started from there.
Did you have any previous experience dealing with actual freight, like booking loads or?
No, not back then. Back then it was just Drew had a ton of experience, right? That's the world he grew up in. His father had a trucking company, then a brokerage, then a 3PL. So like he grew up in it. And so he had a ton of experience. He had like a ton of experience that helped us understanding what the product needed to be from day one. So that was really, really valuable. But yeah, no, I did, in my mind, it was going to be super easy. And then turned out everything about logistics is complicated, nuance, driven by emotion and people and stress and just fun all around.
Transfix was one of the first big digital brokerages, right? So yeah, you saw the wave of the rise of Convoy, the rise of other companies. How are you thinking about your positioning in that circumstance versus other players out there in the market? For example, when Uber launched Uber Freight, right? How did you take that?
Yeah, back then it's funny. So we've always thought the market is gigantic. There's space for them, and there's space for us, and there's space for other providers. But we also like didn't pick the world digital freight broker. We didn't pick like the press just bundle all of us together because it was cool. But we always thought like we're gonna figure out how to build like a true brokerage that's powered by technology, not a tech company that happened to run a brokerage. And so eventually the more we grew, the more we saw that like our best asset and like the things that we want to really go out and sell was the tech behind the brokerage. And as a broker, we were never going to sell that. Like there's no broker in the universe that's going to buy tech from another broker. I strongly believe that. And so we went out, we tried to sell our brokerage. We found NFI, and we're very, very big fan of the team there. Dave Broving is awesome. And so we made the big leap. We decided to go pivot, start focusing on pricing, on understanding pricing, but not at a market level, not understanding pricing or like, how is produce season going to impact the overall market in the US, but more, how do we help brokerage understand their own cost? Not the market cost, but eventually understand how much you pay compared to market. That's also important, but understanding your own cost is so much more valuable than understanding what the market is at. That we decided to go and take a leap and launch our new software.
You also did that at a pretty big scale, right? Transfix was already doing big volume. You guys were already one of the established players in the market. So tell me a bit about that background story. What was the motivation? You mentioned we had a lot of passion for the technology. We knew that this was super powerful. What made you have that realization and motivated to make that leap?
Yeah, the passion was around the tech. I mean, I love the brokerage side and I love the team doing it and the customer we had. But we saw like it's a tough market out there, right? It's a tough, and we had a path to profitability, but it was a low growth path. It was going to be slow to get there. And our board, myself, I know Drew, like we're all more aggressive. I think all entrepreneurs like have to be. You have to go big or go home very often, make those decisions. And it was just a little bit self-evident that was going to be the move that we had to make. Now I didn't know if we were going to be able to make it. Like finding somebody to buy the brokerage was like a interesting proposal on how we're going to get there and what we're going to do about it and how is it all going to work. But once we found the right partner, just everything just clicked and everything worked really, really fast. Like it moved really quickly.
All right, let's change gears a bit. You guys actually started before AI was the hype.
Yeah,
right?
before it was cool.
Before AI was cool. You guys were doing a lot of machine learning focused on pricing. How have you seen that evolve? What's different?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. What changed in the market is that everybody is a lot more aware of it. It's not like AI wasn't around 10 years ago or like it's been around for a long time, but there's a awareness of the importance of it and the impact it can have. We used to have to convince people we're using AI and therefore like there's so many more things we can do. This used to be a tough sell point. Like we sometimes would ignore that we're using AI because we were worried to get into the rabbit hole versus now everybody gets it. And like there's this hate understanding that even though you don't understand what AI is, you know the impact it can have. And so that's making things a lot easier. In terms of what's changing internally, the way we think about it, the way we build it, and the way we want to have its impact hasn't changed. But what's beautiful is the way there's so many more tools today to allow you to build using AI and using ML. The platform are so much more robust than they used to be that we can move a lot faster through our research process, development process, and launching to customers. From ideation to having an impact on our customer, the time is so much shorter now because all these platforms are there to help you move faster. And 10 years ago, we had to build everything ourselves. This whole pipeline of research through development to launch was fully built in-house. And that's a lot of work that we don't have to do anymore.
Tell us a bit more about the Transfix product now. You have a product primarily for brokers and 3PLs. You also have an offering for shippers. Tell us about what are those products, what do they do for their users, and how is technology enabling those outcomes?
At its core, we help you understand your cost. Like whether you're a shipper or a broker, your cost is different. Obviously, market is different, but the underlying behavior is the same. The underlying way you buy freight is almost the same. You either buy it via spot or via contract. Or it's either transactional or contract with your carrier. We ingest a lot of your data when you're on board with us. Like we ingest everything you've got basically. But one of our key differentiation point is like, we're not going to make that an index. Your data is going to be your data. What we're going to extract out of your data is your behavior. How good are you at buying under any sort of condition? What drives the way your cost structure works on any given lane. A good example is like, what if you've never served this lane that picks up in the Northeast and go in the Midwest? What if you've never seen it? And now you start buying into it. How good are you at buying during DOT week, in that lane? And we'll understand you're actually buying really well when you don't know a geography, and you buy less well when your team think they know the geography, they actually don't react really well to market conditions. And so we'll distill that behavior. We'll forecast it into for spot, it's 45 days, and for contract, it's 15 months. We'll distill it, we'll forecast it, and we'll blend it with our market understanding that's powered by our partner, either DAT or Sonar. And from there, we can get you a very, very accurate view of your own cost on any lane that you could serve for your customer. And it can be really powerful. And yeah, we try to act as your data science team. We try to act like we're on your team. We're here to get you more freight, more revenue, more margin, whatever your strategy is, as your own data science team.
If I understand correctly, what you're doing is you're leveraging internal data that typically lives still somewhere, either in the TMS or in an ERP or spreadsheets, and you're giving life to that data, helping both brokers and shippers take control of how they buy and give them the right tools to buy better, right? So ideally, at the end of the day, somebody that's using Transfix is either getting better rates because they can buy better based on their trends and their historical performance, or they can know where they're lacking potentially.
Yeah, we'll show you where you're great at. We'll show you the lanes where you have an edge, and we'll show you where you have opportunity to get better. Right. We'll help your pricing team save time and think more strategically. You can be strategic around where you want to take bets, around where you want to be conservative. But at the end, the cost on those is going to be the cost on those. So we save you time to get there and to think strategically, and then work with your carrier team to know that Dallas to Paramus, New Jersey, you want to get in with these customers. We need to get more aggressive. So carrier team, we need to align on this needs to be our cost base. And then you've got a real strategy, right? To go around the entire company that's aligned on how cost works.
Can you walk us through some real life examples or success stories from shippers or brokers that are using your services and primarily leveraging their data to get those results?
Yeah, we work with a broker actually that happened yesterday. So that's a very, very fresh. We work with a broker who's starting using our tool for contract, and with one particular customers, they've been submitted the rate for the last 3 years and they haven't won any. They've never won anything. So we ran it through our platform, and what happened is for 3 lanes, we showed them a much more aggressive rate that they're used to quoting. And so they called us, they wanted to understand what happened. We looked into it, and what happens is they have a contracted carrier for another shipper on that lane. That contracted carrier has to pick up early in the morning, delivers at night, but it's only a 100-mile drive. So there's a long period in between they're waiting. So that cost is way off market. It's much more expensive. But when they're looking into their internal data, they have this full sense of like, oh, we buy very high in this lane. Meanwhile, we proved them that they actually wouldn't. So we drastically moved that cost down, and they submitted the RFP like a bit ago. We're waiting for the answer, but we're very confident that that this is gonna change drastically the way they price RFP. For others, there's another customer that use us to bid automatically on freight. They've been bidding manually on spot for a long time, which is surprising, but it still happens quite a bit that people takes time to log into load boards and find loads that they like and click on them and try to bid. When it's well known now, they're fighting against bots. Those bots, they have different strategies. They're either like try to find always bring it down or always play the blind auction game. It's really hard to win against them. You'll win some, but it won't be as exponential as if you had another bot that plays against it. But then if the bot is powered by real cost intelligence behind it, we've seen real success enabling customers to automatically bid. We like to partner with Bitfreighter. Their tech is great. I really like their platform. So we like to partner with Bitfreighter. We can do it ourselves as well. And usually that combination of a cost engine plus a really automated way to bid on freight, you get the impact on that overnight. Like the moment we launch, you get the impact the very next day. And it's really awesome to watch.
Very exciting. And it feels like this will just get more advanced and smarter as you feed more of that data back based on what you win, what's your margin profile, and then can start evolving those algorithms to get the result that you want, right? I want to peek under the hood of what's powering a Transfix product. So you mentioned a variety of partners like Sonar or DAT that provide the high level data and market comparison and the data that the shipper or the broker puts into your algorithms. Help me understand how this works. How do these two different sources of data work with each other to provide those recommendations on bidding and cost targets?
From either the data or Sonar, we get an understanding of what's the market going to be like. We're predicted on the spot market, we predicted 45-day basis. So we understand the market today, the market tomorrow, the market next week. And then on the contract side, we get it like on a monthly basis for the next 15 months. That is only an input into the model that we're really creating. The model that we're creating is purely based on the customer's data, right? Like how often do they run team? How often do they run overnight freight? How heavy is their carrier network? How often do they pick a new carriers? They go to the transactional market to book freight. Like that model is going to learn from itself what are the behavior that makes this broker. What are the goods? What are the bad? We'll understand all of it. We'll understand all of their shippers and all of the idiosyncrasies of their shippers that are stuck into an 8 a.m. appointment or that are stuck or 8 p.m. or whatever, right? We'll understand their shipper network, their carrier network, their behavior, even down to their team members, because a lot of brokers have different satellite office, and some satellite office are going to buy better than others. We'll understand everything down to every single level of what makes a transaction unique. And that is blended with with our own market index that creates this cost accuracy that we're seeing.
Someone's listening to this, they would probably think that they have to have a lot of data from their team. And sometimes that data is not super well structured. So how do you work with some of these companies to organize their data, structure it, and make it usable for the models?
That's a great question. We get that quite a bit. So yeah, you need a little bit of it. Obviously you need some data if you're starting a new brokerage and have zero freight. we're not very helpful. But if you've got like 100 shipments a week or 200 shipments a week, that's when we can start having an impact. From there is going to be enough behavior behind this data that we're going to be able to create a model for it. Now, during the onboarding process, what often happens, and we're going to send a list of all the data points that you have, and the broker is going to look at it and say, we're missing this, we don't have this, and this is not formatted, and that's fine. Our team is going to sit with you, work through it, understand where is your data store, how do you need to prepare it. We'll do a lot of the heavy lifting because we know how messy data can be in our world. Like no shipment is the same. No people enter data the same way. And so we've got a lot of tools at our disposal to clean up and remove the noise. And we don't have to train the model on 100% of your shipments. If there are shipments that are too odd and really don't fit anything, you just did a solid to your customers and you did a flatbed load, but this is your only flatbed all you've ever did and you're never going to do another one, we're not going to use that in our training data. And so we'll remove the noise. We'll work with you in a lot of depth to make sure that this process is least pain as possible in this process.
I assume that's a bit of a consultative process, a back and forth. How are you thinking about leveraging these new AI tools and new models that are coming up to improve your product? Like, what are all the possibilities? I'd love to understand how you're thinking about this as a technology.
So this is all in development, but we're playing with LLMs in a way that allows us to take just a dump of the full database of the broker and get that translated to everything that we need without any human interaction. And the easy example, obviously it's a lot more complex than that, but the easy example is just the LLM just find dates. And regardless how they're formatted, regardless what timestamp is on the date, the LLM just understand like, hey, this is a pickup appointment. This is in Chicago. So I'm going to put it in CDT, like in that time zone. And it's like, this is the format I want. And then it's just going to create that translation of this timestamp that is just called timestamp is actually a pickup appointment. It's actually in CDT. So here's the format and nobody has to do anything about it.
Super exciting. Yeah. And what are the most interesting trends that you're seeing or the coolest technology that you're seeing right now applied specifically to improving your pricing power and improving your costs?
I think what's cool is like a lot of people are starting to use different tools to make bids and have negotiation, whether they're those AI voice tools or there's those like platforms that you can invite carriers to bid on your freight. All of this creates more data and more interaction with carriers and more interaction with shippers and more of those interactions are being captured and we're able to have access to it. Right? And the more access to transactional data or behavioral data around the transaction we can have access to, the more accuracy we create, the more leverage we create in broker strategy. And it's getting more and more exciting every day.
That data flowing in and creating these feedback loops with Transfix where it's flowing in directly and then the model gets updated with every new load that you win.
Yeah, our model's live. So we get a data batch from the broker every evening. But through the day, the model is going to understand like, well, you're doing a lot of bidding from Chicago, New York. Well, let's start increasing your costs because you're going to run out of trucks. Like the model will self-update and self-manage itself. It's just really cool to watch.
So here at Tech for Supply Chains, we're all about helping whoever's listening to us actually get an edge by using technology. If you can give the audience a few tips on how to start leveraging their data, what are the easiest ways in which they can get started and getting ahead of their competitors?
Well, the facetious answer is just call us. We'll help you. But I think one of the key thing we did outside of tech, actually, like outside of tech and outside of machine learning, is to really have a strategic point of view from the sales team, the account manager, the pricing team, and the carrier team to be aligned on this is where we're going to make bets. This is where we're not going to bid. We see very often onboarding new brokers, they're bidding on everything all the time. And that's just that creates a lot of noise in an organization, especially when you win two loads in a region you're not deployed in, and you don't want to, your team doesn't want, or a region, a mode, whatever it is. If as from a strategic perspective, you remove some of the noise, you focus on what you're good at, and you align the whole team around that, I think that has tremendous power. And you don't need tech to do that. You just need a little time and a lot of work. And the willingness. You'll find where you should focus and where you should not focus. That answer is in your data. That answer is just it's right at the surface. It's easy to grab.
Great advice for brokers. Shifting gears a bit towards shippers, you guys have a platform focused on shippers as well. If you have any good tip or any suggestion for procurement and transportation managers out there that are seeing a tough market, how can they create the right relationships with their providers?
I think the shippers that we see having the least amount of friction in their supply chain when it comes to truckload is the one that are more flexible on their RFPs than the one that are just doing RFPs for 12 months. If you do an RFP for 12 months in today's day, it's really, really hard to make any sense of it. You're always going to have a set of most brokers are pricing for today. And that's a combination of all the issues there are with blind auctions and all the type of auctions that shipper likes to do, because it brings the price down on the early set, but then you're not set up to carry that rate through the year. It's creating this unhealthy pressure on all your supplier. I think the shippers, and we see a lot that are starting to get there, but either they're doing 3 months RFPs or 6 months at least is a good place to start. Our product is very much around understanding your network, understanding where your shipments are, how difficult are they to book, what rate what is the volatility of each rate within each given lane, so that you're able to forecast the pressure that you're creating on your supply chains. But we're also very much, for shipper, it's a very consultative approach of other ways they could structure those RFPs so that they don't create that fake pressure.
I think that's very good advice organizationally, reducing the time that you expect your rates to be valid, be more adaptive to the market, and maintain those relationships. Talking about specifically supply chain executives, let's say that logistics manager, that VP of logistics, how can they start preparing to leverage their data more in the future? What would be your advice for those leaders?
I think you've got two separate paths. And I'm obviously biased, but take it for what it's worth. Asking for somebody who's been in brokerage as a VP of brokerage for all their carriers to all of a sudden pivot their brain to be a data analyst and go understand unstructured data, make it structure, and drive insight out of it this is an exercise that I think brokers should be doing, is the build or buy, whether they're going to go with third party like us, or there's plenty of others that helps you understand your data. It might not be all about cost, right? You want to understand other things about your business. There are plenty of consultants out there or tools like ours that can help you. Or you need to start creating your own data department and your own analyst department. And a lot of brokers have them already, but a lot also don't. And so I think partnering versus building is the way to go when it comes to all this, because technology moves too fast. And that's all we do, right? All day, every day, we're looking at AI and data and the market, and that's all we do all day. You have 1,000 things to do in one hour. You're not going to keep up the way we do. And so I believe in partnering over building, but at least getting some help. Yeah.
That's super useful. And thinking about the build, collaborate, buy, where are you actually creating those capabilities, and where do you need some help because it's not your wheelhouse, right? How can you leverage what you're best at? All right.
Exactly.
The last two questions I have for you are more around talent. Like, what are the new types of talent that organizations have to bring to the company in order to stay ahead, right? Everything's changing, the market's evolving, and some things stay the same. The relationships are super important. The ability to have great customer service, that's always going to be key. But the things that you have to be good at are changing in terms of technology. How can you start learning some of those to stay relevant?
That's a really hard question. I think there's a difference for what our needs is as a company for us today. And there's a different need that if we were still a broker, how do you hire those new care managers? To answer the first one first, what we need, that's almost a lot easier, right? Because we need data scientists, we need engineers, and that's what my background, our CTO's background. So we've had great success getting new talent, very very strong data scientists. And there's a little bit of the one question that we ask ourselves often is, do we want to find somebody with lesser data skills, but that understand the freight market and that understand how freight work? Or the opposite, do you want to get somebody who's like really strong in data, but you're going to have to teach them data, like the freight market? And I found that it's often easier to teach data science than to teach the way freight works. There is so much to understand about freight that we often try to look in people who have that background. Now, like if you're a freight broker right now and you're trying to hire people, that's a really, really tough question. My gut says to go after people who are great at forming relationship and they are great at growing business through relationship. I think data and ML and all those AI bots are going to take, the more time goes, the more they're going to take the day-to-day grunt out. They're going to take the manual task out. But one thing that I believe will never change is people are going to want to talk to people. They don't want to talk to robots. Like the robots are going to be fine for like the transactional quick calls that need to happen. But the real like, hey, I have a problem. I need help. The real, let me tell you why we're different conversation, that people like that are able to create real relationship with their shippers, with their carriers, I think is going to be the future. I think that's where I would go actually, is like less data focused people, because data is going to get easier and easier to understand. And you're going to get more and more tool in front of you to make it make sense.
Amazing. Now, the last question, what is your most contrarian view on the industry? Is there something that you deeply believe that for others is not intuitive or feels like an opposition of the convention?
I think that, you know, what's interesting is this industry is full of extremely smart people. It is, I'll disagree with some takes and like where the market is going and the high levels, but a real view that contradicts the status quo right now would imply that I disagree with some of those great minds out there. And I don't. I found this industry fascinating because it is run by really incredibly smart people. And so that's not a very like clickbait answer. That's just the truth. I just don't have something contradictory right now.
All right. Perfect, Jonathan. So you've been all over. You've been on the brokerage side. Now you're on the technology provider side. You've built one of the big digital first freight brokers to now providing services to those companies that are operating on top of that right now. So thank you so much for being here.
No, thanks for having me. And if anybody's listening and need help with understanding their cost, they know where to find us. Transfix.io.
Perfect. Thank you, Jonathan. Great chatting with you. It's always super fun.
Thank you. Have a good one.